Good afternoon, everybody. I'm coming on this afternoon to share with you my my creation for Kaj and Christine's collaboration in July, where Caroline is showing people how to use the Cricut machine and exactly what it does and the wonderful things that you can make with it. And I am trying to make the same thing, the same item, but using the traditional papercraft tools and equipment. And my aim actually is to try to show things that can be made without too many fancy bits and pieces, so that even if you haven't got any crafting materials, you could make these things with just card and scissors and glue and things like that. So when I make Christmas cards, I like to make a traditional Christmas card with a nativity scene on it. And so for me, this challenge has been a bit difficult because unless you have dies or stamps of the nativity scene, I'm not a good drawer, so I wouldn't do my own drawing and show you that. So I'll just show you what I did last year, because this is the sort of thing that you can do with dies. So this one is the negative. This one is the negative of this one. So it may not look like it, but this is gold paper where I die cut out this image, not this particular image obviously because this one is black, but a gold image. And so the gold image would have gone on a card like this, and then this is the negative, and this was sticky back gold paper, so I just stuck it to a black card and it becomes a silhouette. So these are very simple and very easy to do and very effective. So I'll just show you a few more. So this is gold on a black background, and this is a different die, black on a gold black background. And then finally this is a different die again, which cut out, as you can see, it cut out the kind of the more of the land, so it kind of sticks up more. And so this is a cream card on gold and on black. And I find black and gold are very good for silhouette things, or a light colour against a dark colour. So anyway, so that's what I did last year, and I did hum and haw about whether I should show you how to do that, but as I said, I want to try and make things which don't need specific dies or specific stamps. So I came up with the idea of making one of those three-dimensional cards. I think they're called box cards, where you have a background and you have a series of layers where you stick things to it, so it gives the impression of it being 3D. And I've never done this before, but I thought, well, I'm going to give it a try. I have seen somebody putting one together from a kit, and that's all I've seen. So I thought, well, okay, I'm going to give this a try, and I will muddle through it and see what happens. And I'm quite pleased with the effect that's come out. So to start with, I had downloaded lots of nativity images, and I actually got this from papercraftinspirations magazine.co.uk. I don't think they exist anymore, but as you can see, it had a whole series of images, and it also had backgrounds. So I think when I did it, I actually printed this off last year because I was going to do this last year, and well, things got in the way when I broke my leg. So I've had this hanging around for a year. So you can see that it had other images, and if I had wanted to, I could have made these things bigger. But at the time, I just printed off one sheet of all the pages that they had to offer, and I've just dipped into some of those to make my card today. So that's why there are holes in in the images, and there was also a background paper of some music, which I haven't used in this instance. So because the images were quite big and I didn't have time to sort of go back in and resize them and all the rest of it, I just cut out what I had. Now I apologise that the card is already made. I did try to film this and the battery in my camera, in my phone went, and so of course I only got half the video, and I didn't want a repeat of last week's where I had to put the video up in 2 parts. So I went ahead and created the card, and I'm just going to show you what I made and see if you like it. So this is the finished card. You see. And what I did was I took a piece of A4 card and I scored it at 2 inches and turned it over and scored it at 2 inches. So the 2 inches is this bit here, which it forms the sides of the card. So this at the back is the card that I did that with. And then I cut some strips. Then I got the craft card and I did the same thing. So an A4 piece of card, and I scored it at 2 inches on one side and 2 inches on the other. So that forms so that is stuck onto the back. But eventually, yeah, that's the last thing you do. And then I cut out this, the inside. So I left half an inch. After the 2 inches, I left half an inch all the way around. I think it could have been slightly more. You know, you learn by your mistakes, don't you? And as I said, this is the first time I've done it. So anyway, so I cut out the frame, and then you can see at the bottom, this here, that line there is actually the half-inch line, but I've brought it up a bit. Sorry about that interruption. I had a telephone call, so I can't quite remember what I was saying. Oh yeah, 2 inches here, and then the frame, that's right. So so what I did was, with this, I got another piece of A4 paper, craft paper, and I scored it at 2 inches on either side, and then I cut 2-inch strips acrossways, so along here, and at the 2-inch scores, that's where I would bend it. So these strips, I don't know if you can see these strips here, there are 2 strips inside, they measure the width of the card, and then they turn in and they're stuck to the wall of the card. And so anyway, so I had in my as I said, I had this kit in my stash, and so I just built up a scene. So I put some backing paper, which is the skyline of Bethlehem, I presume, and then in the stable, I put a star at the top. I put St. Joseph, the baby, and Our Lady, and a donkey, and then on this side I had the 3 wise men with their he's got frankincense, gold, and he's got myrrh, and then I added these trees just to give it a bit of colour, really, because I felt the whole thing was a bit bland. And then here is the shepherd with his sheep. So they're all dotted around the hills. That's the impression that I'm trying to make. And that's how the card came out. And this is a card, these cards you can fold them flat. This one actually doesn't fold flat very well, but I think it's probably due to my measurements and things. But the idea is that they can fold flat to go in the post. And then they spring up again, and then they just stand up like so. So I'm really pleased with how it came out, especially as this was my first attempt. I know I've made a few mistakes, which if I were to make a card like this again, I would rectify. But I hope I've given you some inspiration, you know, that you can just, you know, use things that you've got, or you can find a picture even in a magazine and cut it up and layer it up. or whatever you want to do really. But this, although it looks complicated, it isn't actually once you know what you're doing. And if anybody would like me to do a tutorial, I'm quite happy to do one to show you the basics of how to put the card together. Not necessarily a scene, but the basics of how it goes together, the measurements and things. Obviously, I've made a rather big one, but they don't need to be as big as this. So, well, thank you all for watching. I'd just like to say hello to all my subscribers and to thank the new subscribers who have come over to my channel recently. You're very welcome, and I hope that I'll see you all again soon in my next video. Bye for now.